And now welcome back inside the Collins Arena, getting set for the second game of our doubleheader here on Brookdale TV this afternoon. Brian Goudsworth, Tim Catalfamo here with you today, as Brookdale at one point actually fell below the 500 mark after a four-game losing streak put them at a mark of 4-5. The good news, though, they've won back-to-back games on the road and are back over 500, so they enter play today, I should say, with a record of 6-5. And Tim, this should be a good measuring stick game for the Jersey Blues because they're going against a Philadelphia team with an identical record, both teams at 6-5.
Yeah, Philadelphia is a very good basketball team. They have a lot of depth, so this will be a very good challenge for the Jersey Blues tonight. However, you talked about the record. I spoke to head coach Paul Chuzak pre-game. He feels his team is better than a 6-5 record. They've had a lot of tight losses for Philadelphia. They've had some tight losses as well, but they've had some embarrassing losses more so. More on that as we go throughout the game, but this will be a very good matchup because Brookdale, they're a young team, but they don't necessarily have a lot of size or a lot of depth. They have talent on the side for Philadelphia. They have size. They don't have necessarily the senior leadership, I guess. You know, they don't really have a whole lot of sophomores on their roster, but they have depth and they have that size. So I think those two things will kind of cancel each other out. I think this should be a very good basketball game.
So we're just about set for the opening tip here at the Collins Arena. We'll give you the starting lineups momentarily. And it's Jameer Calhoun for Brookdale and Zavon Richardson for the Colonials. At midcourt, set to take the opening tip. And we are underway with Philadelphia controlling it, and Devontae Saxon hanging but missing, and the ball out of bounds to the Jersey Blues. Brookdale's starting lineup today, it's Teray Gatling, Lamar Johnson, Jazir Clark, Keyshawn Cummings, and Jameer Calhoun. The A starting lineup for head coach Paul Chizak. After we saw in the last game we did, they were without some of their key players, including Johnson, as that's Calhoun, whose shot misses off the rim, and back the other way, Philadelphia. Marshall drops it off for Richardson, denied by the rim, and they call a jump ball. And with that, Brookdale takes over. So Richardson tried to regather, but his effort goes for naught, and the Jersey Blues take over.
Yeah, and Richardson is a player that you'll have to keep an eye on. He was on the team 2 years ago. Now he's back again. He's a very talented player, and he's got good size.
Here's Jazir Clark. He loses it, and it's scooped up by Quincy Reed. Starting lineup for the Colonials, it's Reed along with Devontae Saxon, Ishmael Marshall, Trey McLean, and Zavon Richardson. Out to the perimeter, gathered in by Reed. Now Reed drives. Marshall, a jab step move, sees the screen come. McLean to the corner for Reed. Three on the way, misses, and it's picked up by Calhoun. Brookdale trying to push the tempo. Clark, that's a blocking foul called, and Jazir Clark will shoot the first free throws of the afternoon.
And you mentioned some of the inactives from the last game that we saw Brookdale at home against Gloucester County. Jazir Clark and Lamar Johnson both did not play in that game. Most notably, Lamar Johnson, probably the best player on Brookdale's roster. So now they have all their inactives back on the floor. We'll see whether or not that helps things. Brookdale's been on a little bit of a slide. We've talked about how they've lost 4 straight games. They have won 2 straight, but prior to that, they had lost 4 in a row, many of them coming on the road in close matchups. So they're just trying to find some identity, and we'll see if they can do that this afternoon against a tough Philadelphia team.
As Clark 1 out of 2 from the line, so it's a 1-0 Brookdale lead. Not a score that you often see. Just over a minute gone by. Marshall sets up the offense. Now Marshall on the attack, and the running one-hander, it drops through for 2.
And Isaiah Marshall, one of those sophomore leaders, will be calling his name a lot this afternoon.
Keyshawn Cummings into the lane with a floater that's too strong, and the rebound to Zavon Richardson.
Yeah, you're not going to get too many second-chance opportunities with Zavon Richardson. 6'7", he's a big guy, he's a big body, and he's very athletic.
There's Saxon. It's cut off, so he backs it out for McLean. His shot is way off the mark. Back at top of the key, Reed off the mark from 3. Another offensive rebound, McLean. Filling the lane is Reed, and this time he scores.
Yeah, Yeah, there's just not very good rebounding there by Brookdale. Nobody boxing out down low.
And now a turnover. It's Reed leading the charge. Reed going right at Cummings, and Cummings commits the personal.
Kind of a slow start for the Jersey Blues. They're not really being able to get in transition. Philadelphia knows that. They like to push the ball. They like to run up tempo. They want to try to match that up tempo offense that Brookdale characteristically plays with. And so far, Jersey Blues have just not been able to get in a rhythm.
Reed, a 70% free throw shooter, and the first one is good. The officials for today's game: DeJuan Jones, Sean Shepard, and Ryan Curtis. It's 5-1 Colonials in the early going. And 2 out of 2 from the line. Brookdale still looking for their first field goal. Only 1 point coming from the free throw line thus far. It's Clark. Uses the Calhoun screen. Clark, the crossover, gets inside. Runner misses. Offensive rebound back to him. Pass tipped. And it's taken away. It's Marshall. Ishmael Marshall now. Shovels it inside. McLean able to catch, but he couldn't convert on the inside. And now Brookdale will try to settle things down. Here's Cummings aggressively to the rim, and he goes glass for 2.
Yeah, Keyshawn Cummings, a very shifty player, can really get off the dribble very quickly, able to drive to the bucket. On that last possession, though, I like that aggressiveness by Clark. Even though the shot didn't go in, that's what Brookdale has to do. They have to drive to the bucket.
Oh, that is long distance. Ishmael Marshall, that lefty release. And a long ball for 3 as Calhoun, I'm not sure if that was a shot or a pass, but it's a Jersey Blue turnover.
Probably should have been a foul there too, Brian.
Saxon can't connect from the baseline. It's rebounded by Calhoun. Brookdale down by 6 as Cummings with a wild shot. It goes down and 1. That was acrobatic. Keyshawn Cummings, a chance for 3.
I mean, you talk about acrobatic, Brian. That was a heck of a shot. I'm not sure how that even went in. Able to adjust in midair, absorb the contact, and go to the line.
It was Cummings who kind of picked up the slack when Brookdale was without Lamar Johnson and others, especially in the last home game against Rowan Gloucester. And he's a guy who can score in a variety of ways, averaging just under 15 a game. 3-point play is good.
Yeah, Cummings is actually a very good player, and you mentioned the Gloucester game. I think he really kind of came of age in that game because you didn't have Johnson on the floor. There wasn't really anybody else that could step up, that could kind of take his place. And Keyshawn Cummings stepped up to that role, and he played very well.
Quincy Reed fires away. That's short. Long rebound. Running start with Cummings, and he's fouled there. Bumped by Reed. And that'll be team foul number 3 against the visitors.
And we should mention that Philadelphia normally is coached by Joe Rome in his 7th season. He is not here today. He has been placed on administrative leave. So in his place is one of the assistant coaches, Andre Wright, who is taking over the helm of things for Philadelphia. So I don't know if that's going to change things or maybe change the mindset of the coaching methods that go on. I don't think it should because he's an assistant coach. But still, that's certainly a storyline that we'll be following this afternoon.
Johnson driving baseline, kick out Cummings, catch and shoot. Too strong for 3, in the box out, Devontae Saxon, the rebound. Akil Bird has checked in for the Colonials, who work with a 3-point lead. At 4.5 minutes gone by, Reed slows down the tempo. Now Reed, a series of dribbles, Bird for 3, and it's rebounded by Calhoun. Gatling off the nice pass, throws it down with one hand. And it was Cummings who delivered it from the backcourt. Timeout, Philly.
And that was a very nice read by Keyshawn Cummings, able to find Teray Gatling. Brookdale really had never, up until this point in the game, been able to get in transition on offense, and finally they're able to finish, and now they're within 1.
So as you mentioned, it's Andre Wright, who is the acting head coach for the Colonials. And he talks it over with his team during the timeout. Philadelphia starts the day 1 spot behind Brookdale in the Region 19 standings. The Colonials at 11th, Brookdale at 10th. And that's certainly not accustomed to where we are seeing them in the region. But as we've talked about this season, it's a work in progress kind of year, and you almost think they'll figure things out as the season goes along.
Yeah, Coach Chizak told me pre-season, actually, that he thinks the team may take a couple beatings early on, but as the season progresses, get better and better. And we know that as a steal by Cummings there.
And Cummings will take it to the rim and lay it up and in.
But more on that point, we talked about how a couple of inactives that are still waiting to be put on Brookdale's roster in the second half of the season. Jordan Smith, Tyler Hawkins, just a couple of players that Brookdale is waiting for. They're very talented, but they haven't been eligible yet. They'll be eligible in the second half of the season.
A nice save try on the part of Johnson, but he saved it to no one home. So the Colonials will have the basketball. Philadelphia comes off a 76-69 defeat. It was Tuesday against Montgomery, back at home in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and that's a game that they struggle to rebound the ball, Brian. So this will be a big test for them if they can rebound against Brookdale this afternoon.
Ishmael Marshall is showing off unlimited range. That's a pair that he has hit from well behind the arc.
That's like NBA range right there, Brian.
As the Colonials go back in front 12-10. Johnson goes to work. Gatling in the corner. Gatling for Johnson. The little baby jumper from the baseline rattles in.
And that was kind of a wacky shot. Johnson never really set his feet, but he's able to make it go in.
Marshall is stripped by Cummings, but it's picked up near the foul line by Richardson. And now Akil Bird. Saxon steps back and hits. Devontae Saxon, his first points nearly stolen on the inbounds by Reed. Cummings aggressively to the rim, little out of control, able to regather and score with the left hand, Keyshawn Cummings.
Yeah, Cummings actually, I think, got frustrated because he had the ball picked away from behind, got kind of mad, grabbed the ball and just threw it in there off the glass.
Both teams have scored on some interesting shot attempts in the early going. We're tied up at 14. Nice drive, but he did everything but finish, did Marshall, as the shot goes off the rim. And here's Cummings with a nice fake, and he takes it to the rim for two. He had Clark open in the corner, but took it himself. Jersey Blues back in front by two. Quincy Reed, he's got it. It's a three.
Yeah, you just have got to close out on the shooters. The last couple times down the floor, Brookdale has changed up their defense. They went to 2-3 zone, then they went back to man-to-man. So they're changing up their looks, but regardless, you've got to get a hand to the person that's shooting from behind the arc.
Now with a head of steam come the Colonials, and Saxon can't get it to go, but the follow is good. And Richardson, and you mentioned his size at 6'7", he is tough to block out.
Yeah, he's athletic too, and he's just someone that Brookdale really doesn't have, with maybe the exception of Teray Gatling, a body to put on a body, so to speak, down low.
Come up on 12 minutes to go first half. Gatling takes the jumper. It rolls off the rim. Calhoun puts it back up and in.
Yeah, nice fight there by Calhoun trying to get that rebound. That's what Brookdale's going to have to do with the size advantage that Philadelphia obviously has. They're going to have to get some offensive rebounds and on defense box out players like Zavon Richardson. They cannot allow Philadelphia to get second or third chance opportunities.
Saxon with tight defense from Cummings. Reed gets free. Not that time, and the rebound snatched by Gatling. Brookdale's leading rebounder. Johnson pops. It's too strong, flying in for the follow was Clark, and it'll stay with Brookdale. Oh, Clark really got off the floor.
Yeah, that was a nice play by Clark. Nice attempt to try to tip it in. But in that situation, Johnson, he doesn't really have the numbers on the floor. I know he's a good shooter, but sometimes it's better off just to kind of take a couple seconds, let your offense come up the floor, and then try to dish it off to somebody. I don't think that was necessarily the greatest shot in the world for Lamar Johnson.
Inbounder is Cummings. Shooter is Calhoun. Smooth delivery. And Brookdale just continues to execute those out-of-bounds plays as well as anyone. They're back in front by one. Jordan Smith is checked in. He finds McLean, and Trey McLean the easy 2.
Yeah, just kind of a broken defense there. A nice job by McLean realizing that. Wide open in the paint. Nobody touched him.
Wide open is Sutton. Randy Sutton. Instant offense off the bench. A 3. 23-21.
Well, you wanted the game. We got one so far.
Lead has changed, it seems like, on every possession. Not this time as the shot from the outside misses. There's Gatling carrying ahead. Finds Sutton. Fakes on a 3 this time. And Johnson calls out a play. Sutton uses the Calhoun screen. Lost it, and he can't save it. It's back to the Colonials.
Yeah, in that possession, somebody's got to come out, especially in a man-to-man defense when you're faced with that. Someone's got to come out and set a pick and free up Randy Sutton. I know that he's not necessarily the first one that you think of as far as people that can drive to the bucket, but he's got that ability. You got to give him an opportunity, though, to get away from his defender. That was just not very good execution on offense.
Shot from the corner by Bird misses, but Reed is able to put it back up and through. These two teams very evenly matched as Calhoun with a nice finish on the inside as he goes with the left hand.
And we expected this. I mean, we expected this to be a tight game. Brookdale 6-5. That's not really true to what they have played this season. They've had a lot of close losses. Philadelphia, a really large bench, lots of size. So we expected this to be a close game. But you mentioned it, Brian, a moment ago. The lead has changed almost practically every possession.
Here's Bird, puts it on the floor. Shot clock's down to 5. Reed, that's a long one. It's too strong. The offensive rebound, though, second chance opportunity. 3 on the way. Montrell Logan off the mark, and another rebound, Calhoun. Cummings lost it into the hands of Calhoun. Johnson fires a long one, and it's rebounded by the Colonials and Jordan Smith as inside Montrell Logan ties the game up at 25 apiece.
Yeah, Philadelphia so far has just been able to match Brookdale's up-tempo offense in transition. That's really been the storyline in this game.
Now Johnson on the drive, stripped of the ball, and it's saved by Reed. Pass though knocked away by Calhoun. And it was last touch by Calhoun. Take another look here at the last basket for Philly. And a substitution for the Jersey Blues. Emilio Stevenson is checked in for the first time. We're tied at 25, 8:45 remaining in this first half. Logan gives it up deep on the perimeter with Bird. And now the turnaround jumper by McLean misses. And who touched it last? Brookdale did. They said Jazir Clark. Paul Chizek, though, very upset.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that call. I think you're right, Brian. I think Marshall touched that last as he was going out of bounds. So lucky break by the Colonials to get a fresh 30 now.
Marshall inbounds it. Fresh 30-second shot clock to work with. Marshall on the drive. He couldn't finish it, and it's tipped over to Calhoun. Brookdale wants to run this way. It's Cummings, but a lot of contact and a foul is called. Sean Cummings going hard to the rim.
I was going to say that's a little of a late whistle there. That was about a second or two after the contact had occurred. But, yeah, nice aggressiveness by Cummings going inside. We saw that in the Gloucester game, Brian, how aggressive he was going to the hoop, shooting around the perimeter. He's a player that Brookdale can use more often to take the place of maybe when, let's say, Lamar Johnson needs to come out for a breather.
Cummings averaging about 15 points a game for the year. And a substitution for the Colonials. Kyrie Lloyd checks in for the first time, and he replaces Montrell Logan. Second attempt for the freshman from Rahway, and it misses. Meanwhile, also in for the Colonials is the 7'1" Brazilian Pedro Matos. That's Bird, that's good, and 1. And Akil Bird a chance for 3. Keyshawn Cummings is hit with his second personal. So most of these Colonials are from the homeland of the school in Philadelphia, but not Bird, who hails from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and he completes the three-point play.
Yeah, everyone else except for, you mentioned Matus and Bird, are from Philadelphia.
8 minutes to go, first half. Brookdale down 2. It's Calhoun on a pull-up. It's good.
And Calhoun is really good in those situations. He's good inside the perimeter, good around the paint. He can just chip things off. He's good when he gets the ball in transition.
And it's a steal for Sutton. Randy Sutton stripped of the ball. Transition defense by Marshall. And he didn't commit a foul, so he forces Brookdale to inbound underneath. Sutton thought he was going to inbound it, but Johnson shoos him away. Johnson, nice find. Clark missed it, tip in no, and it's rebounded by Jordan Smith.
That's the second time Clark's had an easy lay-in that's not gone in, so getting a little bit frustrated, but still, nice play, just hasn't quite gotten that bucket to go in.
Marshall, the hesitation dribble. And now Smith, the runner, misses. It's popped up in the air and controlled by Stevenson. As Stevenson is open for three, he knocks it down. Emilio Stevenson has his first field goal off the bench. Stevenson and Sutton appear to be the two leading scorers off the Brookdale bench. As the loose ball is corralled by Johnson, now Brookdale's running. Bounce for Sutton. Sutton couldn't gather it in, and it's stolen away. It's Akil Bird. Bird all the way to the basket. Shot misses with the left hand, and then a foul called. Paul Chizek yelling out to his group.
And that's actually the first outburst, actually, for Paul Chizek, actually. I was waiting for the usual outburst to come, but now he's back into the game.
Foul is on Bird, and that's his first. Brookdale with a three-point lead. They've won their last 2 games after a 4-game losing streak had dropped them under 500. Which is almost uncharted territory with the way this program has performed the last several years. Johnson way off the mark, and the rebound easily to Matos.
Yeah, Johnson just not feeling it from behind the arc. That's 3 threes now that just have been way off the mark.
There's Saxon one-on-one with Johnson. Saxon drive, kick. Lloyd knocks in a 3. Kyrie Lloyd was wide open.
And that's the risk that you take when you play a man-to-man defense. You've got to get out and you've got to get a hand in the person's face.
Gatling along the baseline. Out for Johnson. Extra pass, Sutton. Baseline drive. Maybe one too many passes on that possession. It results in a turnover.
And I have to tell you what, Philadelphia, you give credit to them for their defense so far. They have played pretty stout defense. This is a team in Brookdale that can run up the scoreboard. They can score easily 85, 90 points a game. And Philadelphia has shut them down. They've done it with a man-to-man defense mostly. They really haven't changed that up too much. They've played pretty well.
They're a team that's played a lot of close games. Their average margin of victory is a skinny point. They average 82 points per game, and they allow about 81.7, so it's close. We're tied at 31. Ishmael Marshall couldn't finish it. The rebound secured by Gatling. There's Johnson. Oh, the ball pinballs around. Johnson able to regather and then fires it to the Philadelphia bench. So Jersey Blues a little discombobulated the last couple of possessions.
Yeah, I said this early on in the game, Brian. I just think that Brookdale, for whatever reason, has never quite been able to get into a rhythm. They've been able to match Philadelphia, but they're just struggling to find any type of rhythm on offense. They've been making turnovers. They've had some inerrant passes that haven't really looked all that great. So they're struggling, and I give credit to Philadelphia. I think that's part of the Philadelphia defense, but they don't look like they really have ever gotten into a rhythm so far.
Two teams that came in at 6 and 5 and The spread has not gotten past 3 points here today. It's been close throughout. Johnson for three. It bounces no. Akil Bird with Johnson right in his grill. Bird calls out a play. Mato sets the high screen. Inside the arc, Saxon misses. And another rebound for Gatling. Gatling had it poked away.
Nice.
Fine Gatling cutting inside. Shot misses. Ball knocked around and controlled by Bird.
Nice idea, though, by Sutton to go inside. Just, again, Gatling not able to finish, but nice idea. You have the right idea, just have now to finish the play.
4 minutes to go first half. And the game tied at 31. Marshall has been the first half star for the Colonials. Saxon is fouled. That's just the third team foul against the Jersey Blues, as we're down to 3:50 to play in this first half.
A whistle there came flying out of the official's mouth. I don't know if you saw that, Brian. As soon as he blew it, came flying out of his mouth, came off the little lapel that he's got around his neck. Or the lanyard, I should say, around his neck, not the lapel.
That's one for the blooper reel. So Saxon at the line. The foul was on Johnson. It's his first.
I think you mentioned it a moment ago, but that's only the third team foul for Brookdale, and only the 8th foul total in this first half. So this has been moving along very quickly. This has been a very up-tempo offense on both sides. Lots of fast-moving basketball. Not really too many breaks for either side. So just they've been going hard at it for almost 18 minutes now.
Each team makes one change. Reed checks in for Philadelphia, and Jameer Calhoun for the Jersey Blues. Colonials up 33-31. Brookdale trying to get organized offensively. It's been somewhat of a struggle. Sutton, he knocks down a three-pointer. That's his second from behind the line. That's a good role for Sutton coming off the bench and providing that instant offense.
Yeah, Sutton's one of those players I think that is more comfortable coming off of the bench. I think he's just one of those players that develops. Some players just for whatever reason can never get settled when they start on the floor, but if they can come off the bench, even if it's only 30 seconds into the game, they feel much better.
As Johnson goes in uncontested, lays it in with the left hand. And we'll hit the 3-minute mark of this first half with Brookdale in front by 3. Game that has been a seesaw affair so far. Marshall from a tough angle, and Calhoun's got the rebound.
And I think Saxon may have gotten away with throwing the elbow on Johnson there in that last possession.
As Calhoun on the drive, and a foul called. Team foul number 6 charged to Philadelphia. And that's the second on Quincy Reed. Calhoun's at the line. Once we get the ball back in the field of play.
Actually, they're going to say it's on the floor instead, Brian. I thought that was in the act of shooting, but they're instead going to change that.
And Calhoun was ready to shoot free throws, but they're switching it up. So Johnson instead to inbound underneath. He bounces it in for Gatling. Johnson in the corner fires away, too strong, and it's rebounded by Richardson. As throw it inside, and the pass is stolen away. Lee Johnson up the floor, and Johnson lays it up and in.
And if I'm not mistaken, that may be the first points all half for Lamar Johnson. I'll have to double check that, but finally able to get something going on offense. He just has struggled. He's been close. He just hasn't quite gotten the baskets to drop. And
this is about as large of a lead as we've seen from either side, as Saxon can't connect. Richardson nearly shuffled the feet. Saxon has it blocked on the interior by Gatling. And the Colonials will inbound underneath with an even 2 minutes to play first half. Reed will do the honors. Saxon along the baseline. Reed comes to the ball, fires at 3, and another rebound Gatling. Brookdale takes their time getting into this set, and then Johnson explodes to the rim, but he couldn't convert. It's back to the Colonials. Boy, Brookdale lulled you to sleep with that possession, then Johnson with a head of steam to the rim.
Yeah, everyone very spread out on offense, and again, that's fine, but I still think at some point you're going to have more people come out and set picks, especially for someone like Lamar Johnson. He was able to get to the rim all on his own that time, but you can aid that by coming out and having someone set a pick.
Marshall goes at Sutton, takes the jumper and banks it home. Ishmael Marshall has some offensive skills. He averages just over 14 a game, and he's had an impressive first half. Brookdale up 3, this time Sutton for 2. Randy Sutton has had the hot hand. That's 8 first half points. Under a minute to go now in the half. Saxon hangs but misses. Then on the floor with it, scramble for the basketball. And it's going in the other direction.
Actually, I think Brookdale may have gotten a timeout, Brian. I'm not 100% sure. I think that they did because possession arrow was pointing Philadelphia's way, but I think Brookdale will still get a timeout. So it'll be a 30-second timeout for the Jersey Blues. Coach Chizek's going to use one of his timeouts that he's either going to use or lose at the end of this first half.
That's right, as we saw Rich Brunson do in the first game.
You use it or you lose it.
So we have 39.8 to play after this timeout is over. Paul Chizek, who has seen his fair share of basketballs, you see there on the graphic, 27 seasons at the helm. And this one, though, I'm sure he's been through his fair share of transitional years, which is what this has turned out to be.
Yeah, I mean, you look at where the team was last year with so many flashy stars that they had on their roster. Basically a complete redo this season. You have Mekhi Morgan, you have Teray Gatling, who saw some action 2 years ago. You also have a player that's not on the roster that is still on the teams in Stephon Forbes. But that's about it. I mean, Brookdale basically had to clean house and bring in a whole nother basketball team, and they got what they wanted. They got the talent, they got the speed. They just didn't really get the amount of size that they're looking for. So I've been interested to see how they would do against games like Philadelphia, where Philadelphia obviously has size. How would they match up against a team like that?
Now, Lamar Johnson, after a slow start, has found his groove. He was settling for jumpers early, now, though, aggressively to the rim, and he's gotten 6 points in that fashion. Brookdale's now opened up a 7-point lead. Here's Marshall inside the arc, in and out, no, slapped out of bounds. And the Colonials will get another opportunity. It's the second time that Paul Chizek has felt his team should have gotten possession, but the officials indicate otherwise. Shot clock now turned off. Reed, the inbounder. In the corner with Saxon. Handed off for Reed. Reed creates space. This fires from 3. Rebound Gatling. Final 3 seconds first half. Johnson brings it across. Johnson off balance. Off the glass, no, at the horn. And that's how the first half comes to a close. A tightly contested game between these two teams, Brookdale and Philadelphia, and we figured it would be close coming in with these two teams' identical records, and that's exactly what we've gotten.
Yeah, it's been a pretty up-tempo contest. I mean, not really a whole lot of fouls in the first half. We talked about how Philadelphia was going to have to try to match Brookdale's up-tempo offense. They did that, and, you know, I'm surprised that both teams really and honestly didn't have more fouls, didn't slow the game down in more regards. It was just really kind of a clean half, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the way that Philadelphia played on defense. I can't necessarily say that they did anything wrong. Brookdale just has been so strong. They've driven to the basket. They've got a couple of opportunities to go to the foul line, but they've been able to really work in with that man-to-man defense that Philadelphia has presented to them. So I've been impressed by both teams, and we expected this to be a close game, so I'm not really surprised that this is turning into a hotly contested affair.
Yeah, a lot of lead changes so far, and really where Brookdale was able to open up the lead was once Lamar Johnson got going.
Yeah, he really kind of settled in. It took him a couple of minutes. It's almost way into the first half for him to get settled, actually. He was really not really feeling it. Had several threes that were off off the mark from behind the arc, but really once he's settled in, and I think the key with getting Lamar Johnson involved in the game is not so much from behind the three-point line, but when he can get the opportunity to drive. I still think that Brookdale needs to set more picks so that guys like Lamar Johnson can drive to the bucket easier than they have, but they've done a nice job so far in the first half.
So 42-35, Brookdale leads. They're trying to make it 3 consecutive wins if they can get it done today. We're at the half right now. We'll step aside here on Brookdale TV.
Municipality.
And back inside the Collins Arena, Brian Goudsward, Tim Catalfamo here with you as we get set to start the second half. Good game we've seen so far, 42-35. Brookdale leads as we get set to start the second half. And Brookdale, when you look at their leading scorers, Lamar Johnson and Randy Sutton, one starter and one reserve that carried the load offensively.
Yeah, really not surprised that Lamar Johnson is Brookdale's leading scorer, but Randy Sutton, we talked about, just some players like to come off the bench. They feel more comfortable that way, and that's what he's done. That's what he's done in the first half. He came off the bench, played very well. A freshman player, so not a whole lot of experience for Randy, but still one of those players that can drive to the basket. He's a good perimeter shooter. He's played very well, and that's helped Brookdale out tremendously. We talked about how close this game has been. They have a 7-point lead going into the half. I think that was a huge momentum thing that Brookdale could bring into the locker room, because you look at where Philadelphia is on the floor, they can score very quickly as well. So the fact that you go into the locker room with a 7-point lead, that makes you feel very good. You have a chance to breathe a little bit. You have a little bit of a cushion that you can take into the locker room and then try to take momentum coming into the second half with. So we'll see how Philadelphia comes out. I would not be surprised, though, in the least bit if when Philadelphia comes out, they put up 4 or 5 straight points. They are that good scoring-wise.
Second half underway as the Colonials open up with possession. It's Reed who had 9 first half points to set up the offense. Marshall gets into the lane with a running one-hander for 2.
And there you go, right on cue. Marshall has just been an incredible player. He had 10 points, now make it 12 on the game. He's so quick, and he's really good at adjusting in midair.
Beautiful move by Trey McLean as he eluded the defender on the fast break and finishes it off. So a quick 4-0 spurt for Philly has trimmed the Brookdale lead to 3. Johnson loses it, but it's last touch Colonials.
And this is why Philadelphia is so dangerous, because they can go on those spurts. And they're not very long spurts, 4 points here, 5 points there. But over the course of the game, that adds up. And Brookdale right now has to kind of adjust, because another turnover there, Philadelphia could easily get out here and put up 10 points easily.
Taken away back at midcourt by Calhoun. To the rim he goes, couldn't finish. And the rebound to McLean. Philadelphia has not lost on the road this season. They've only played 2 games, but both of them have been victories, so they look to keep that going. Hook it inside to Richardson. Back out for a wide-open Marshall, but it's way short on a 3-point try. And then Gatling finally comes away with it. Here's Johnson. As Brookdale player came up gimpy on the other end of the floor. That was Clark, but he appears no worse for wear as he takes it to the rim and takes another shot, and now we'll go to the line.
And that was a rare miss that time by Marshall at the other end for Philadelphia. We saw in the first half he was knocking down those threes. In fact, he comes into this game averaging 53% shooting from behind the 3-point line. So it's a rare miss when he has opportunities with nobody around him, a clean look at the basket for him not to knock that down. So Brookdale got very lucky there on defense.
Clark at the line. No good. He struggled, 52% free throw shooter. As Brookdale starts this second half with their original starting lineup on the floor of Gatling, Johnson, Clark, Cummings, and Calhoun.
And I think Clark on that last play, we talked about him being the player that was a little gimpy getting up in the backcourt. I think he may have gotten a stinger on his hand or something. He's kind of like shaking, and I don't know if he's got something going on with his wrist or he fell down on him the wrong way, but that may have contributed to him not making that first foul shot.
Quincy Reed misses from 3-point range, and it's rebounded by Calhoun. Johnson gives it up. Cummings fires in and out on a 3, and Reed gets up for the rebound. Poked away from behind. Calhoun forced the steal. Clark finally able to pick it up, and then he coughs it up. Here's Saxon, alley-oop. Richardson missed it. Richardson on the follow, and he's fouled. And the 6'7" Richardson will shoot free throws.
Yeah, I just think something's going on with Jazir Clark. I think he did something to his hand or injured his hand in some way because he couldn't pick up the basketball with both hands really all that well. That led to the turnover with Richardson at the other end. So I think he's going to come out of the game. I don't know what happened, but I think he's got something wrong with his wrist.
And Richardson, like many big men, not an adept free throw shooter, as he's short on the first one. Randy Sutton is the substitution as Clark now gets some medical attention with the athletic trainer there on the sideline. One more free throw for Richardson, who shoots just 25%. And nothing out of 2. Rebound and a foul, and it's going Brookdale's way.
Yeah, I think.
And that's Saxon who picks up number 2. So about 2 minutes into the second half. Jersey Blues lead by 4, 43-39. And stepping in front is McLean, but he couldn't save it.
Yeah, and that's just not a very good pass by Lamar Johnson. I don't know if maybe he and Teray Gatling weren't on the same page, but you got to have much crisper passes than that. Philadelphia is a very quick team. They got quick hands. They can make a fast break. They can steal the ball away. So you've got to be really crisp with your passes. Sometimes throwing it through the air is not going to work. Bounce pass is sometimes a better option when you have such a quick team.
Sutton on a bounce to a cutting Johnson, and it's picked up by Marshall. Reed brings it ahead. McLean sees Cummings go by, can't connect on a 3. Offensive rebound, and the putback goes. It's Devontae Saxon.
Yeah, just nobody underneath that time for Brookdale to rebound the basketball.
Back to a 2-point Brookdale lead. Johnson shakes the defender, pulls up for a shot that misses off the rim, and another rebound for McLean. Philadelphia can take the lead with a 3 on this possession. McLean finds Marshall. Marshall goes behind the back, out to the corner. Extra pass. Reed back to the perimeter. A lot of ball movement, but no shot until Richardson, a high arcing shot. And here comes Brookdale with numbers potentially. Gatling can't get it to go, but he is fouled. That would have been an acrobatic finish for Teray.
But you mentioned the ball movement there for Philadelphia. See how crisp their passes were? Everybody was touching the ball. Nice, crisp, fast passes. The defense was almost having difficulty getting reset. If you're Brookdale, that's what Brookdale's got to bring to their offense when they come down the floor. We have not seen that, and we haven't seen that now for a couple of games. We saw a lot of sloppy passes. You've got to be a lot crisper, and you've got to hit that player. He's got to be ready for the ball, and when he's ready, you got to hit him with a really crisp pass to keep that defense moving around like Philadelphia did on that last possession.
Lamar Johnson gets a rest. He's replaced by Emilio Stevenson as Gatling converts 2 from the line. Here's Reed with a crossover and gives up his dribble and then gives it away into the hands of Sutton. Sutton to the basket, finishes it off for 2.
And how about Randy Sutton? We've talked about him multiple times in this game, Brian. Just continues to be impressive off the bench.
Now in double figures with 10 points. There's Saxon, backs it out. Watched by Gatling, who claps in his face. McLean's jumper off the mark from the baseline. Richardson had it for a second, but Calhoun comes away. Sutton, nice bounce. Gatling floats it up and in.
And that's just nice, unselfish basketball that time by Sutton. He's got the hot hand. He could have easily pulled the trigger on that, but he feeds it inside to his teammate.
It's up to an 8-point lead as Reed can't find the answer.
And now we're starting to see this rhythm that we talked about in the first half was not there for Brookdale. Now they're slowly starting to hit that rhythm. Philadelphia's going to have to make some adjustments here.
Dangerous pass there. Sutton for 3. Randy Sutton. That's his third 3-pointer. Timeout, Colonials. Largest lead of the day. It's 11, 52-41. As you see the nothing but net basket on the camera that we have stationed on the backboard.
Yeah, both two cameras on both of the backboards, so that's a new addition. Yeah, but I mean, for Brookdale, you're just starting to see that rhythm really start to get into shape, and they're really starting to hit that.
we'll take a quick break here on Brookdale TV during this timeout, and we'll be right back.
In addition to the speeches, the celebration featured photos, exhibits, and digital slideshows showcasing 50 years of Brookdale history, along with refreshments and a 50th anniversary birthday cake.
Need a break from the vigorous academic year? Don't worry, you're not the only one. Hi, I'm Sophia Perola, and I'm
Brian Goudsward, Tim Catalfamo, the rest of our Brookdale TV crew with you today. Second game of our doubleheader between Brookdale and the Community College of Philadelphia. The women's team in the first game made it 12 straight wins to start the season, and now the men's team looking to make it a mini 3-game winning streak, but they're also trying to start another home winning streak because the last game we did against Rowan Gloucester, that 30-plus game remarkable streak finally came to an end.
Yeah, it was 33 straight, and they finally had that come to an end, albeit it was a close game, so, I mean, it wasn't like it was a total blowout. They had an opportunity, multiple opportunities in that game against Rowan College of Gloucester County to pull that out in the end. Weren't able to do so. Rowan's a very tough team, but, yeah, they're trying to start their own streak, and they're trying to get back on track. They haven't had a very good couple of weeks. We mentioned that they had a 4-game slide. They've won 2 straight now that they're coming off of 2 straight road wins against Ocean and Camden County. So this would be a very good win if they can hold steady here in this game. Consistency and closing out games have been an issue for this team this year.
Emilio Stevenson picks up the foul. It's Brookdale's second. Paul Chizek disagreed vehemently.
No surprise.
But the Jersey Blues in this game have opened up now an 11-point lead. Marshall won't go for 3. Richardson in his big body, and the tip-in drops through. That was McLean who got it, and it's a 9-point game.
And I'm really surprised that you haven't seen Philadelphia use Richardson more. He's such a big body, such a big presence down low.
As Calhoun denied on the inside, but he stays with it and is able to score from in close.
And that's why Calhoun is such a good player, because he's patient. He doesn't rush his shot. He gets it rejected, he gets the rebound, he goes back up and in with it, takes his time, really doesn't rush the shot. That's what makes him such an effective player down low for Brookdale.
54-43. Marshall hands for Saxon, his jumper in and out, and the rebound snatched by Cummings. Calhoun the catch, and Gatling will decide to back it out. Now he curls toward the rim, kicks it out. Stevenson short. High flyer is Calhoun for the offensive rebound, and a reset of the shot clock. Calhoun has been all over the offensive and defensive glass today. Cummings a lot of dribbling.
Phillies remain to the man-to-man defense so far, Brian. I'd be interested to see if they can change things up to try to stop this run.
Cummings off on a 3, but another rebound for Calhoun. And another 30 seconds to work with. Brookdale just keeps stealing away possessions. That pass is picked off by McLean. 4-on-2 developing. Marshall back for McLean. Baseline delivery. He's got it. Brookdale's 5 on the floor is Cummings, Sutton, Gatling, Calhoun, and Stevenson. Gatling draws the blocking foul, as it's Richardson who hit the deck. And that's team foul number 4 against the Colonials. So Trey McLean out, and Jordan Smith is in. Meanwhile, Richardson picks up his second. He hits the bench as well. Long stoppage here. It'll be Sutton. As Gatling was cutting to the basket, but it didn't work.
Yeah, good defense there by Philly.
Now Marshall swings it. Good ball movement. And the jumper by Jordan Smith is good.
And it is good ball movement, Brian. I mean, the fact that they're able to move the ball around so effortlessly against a man-to-man defense is just mind-boggling to me. They just have not been able to get as much consistency on the defensive end. They've allowed Brookdale to get some open looks inside in transition. That's really been the difference in this game.
Reach and foul there on Marshall. As Philadelphia picks up their 5th of the second half, and we have a timeout on the floor. We'll take a break, 12:59 remaining, second half. We'll be right back to the Collins Arena after this.
Here at the Student Life Center, where students are chilling out, drinking smoothies, and hoping their finals go smoothly. What's your name?
I'm Zaire.
Zaire, I see you're drinking a smoothie. What smoothie is that?
A strawberry banana smoothie.
It looks delicious.
Oh, it is very scrumptious.
So how do you think it's helping you de-stress from the academic year?
Well, it's cold and it relaxes my throat, and it's like, it's very relaxing. If I get a brain freeze, it'll stop me from doing homework. You know what I mean? So that's why how it's relaxing.
Sounds successful to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Enjoy your smoothie.
Thank you.
Hi, can you tell me your name?
My name is Lorena. Hello.
Hi, Lorena. That's a beautiful name. Did you have a smoothie?
Yes, I did. Strawberry banana. It was so
Brookdale with a 7-point lead, just about set outside this timeout. It's 54-47, Jersey Blues in front of the Philadelphia Colonials, two teams that came in at 6-5 overall. And they're bunched up in the Region 19 standings in 10th and 11th place, respectively, with Brookdale having the slight advantage. Jersey Blue basketball. As Stevenson has some trouble getting it in, and then Sutton has it go through his hands.
And, we talked about the inconsistencies with this Brookdale team. They're a young team. They have flashes of brilliance, but then you have a play like that. Out of a timeout, you should have everyone on the same page. Nobody's moving. Again, give credit to Philadelphia on their defense with man-to-man, but still, you've got to adjust to that and get the ball inbound. You can't have mistakes like that.
Akeel Bird gives it off for Smith, and then back out to the perimeter, drive and kick. Quincy Reed won't go for 3. And the offensive rebound, though, to Smith, and then back inside where the shot misses from in close. Philadelphia is going to be kicking themselves after this game because they have had so many shots seemingly from inside the paint that have just not been able to go down. Reed inbounding, another 30-second shot clock to work with. Screen set by Marshall, driving baseline, Devontae Saxon, nifty move. So it was once an 11-point Brookdale lead. It's down to 5 now as we hit the 12-minute mark of the second half.
Yeah, Philadelphia is definitely not out of this game. They just need a couple stops here on defense, which has been their Achilles heel in the second half.
That's a travel on Sutton. He didn't think so. Paul Chizek discussing with the official on the far side as the Colonials make a substitution. That's Montrell Logan. And Quincy Reed gets a break.
I'd like to see if Philadelphia can try to draw some contact here. Brookdale's only got 2 team fouls. Try to go inside, try to get to the foul line. We really haven't seen too many foul shots on either side in this game. Get to the line, try to draw some contact, extend this game.
Akeel Bird blocked on the inside by Calhoun, but it goes down on the second try. An and one opportunity for Jordan Smith. I'm not quite sure how he ended up tipping that in, but it's 2 points for Philly and a chance to make it 3. Smith, 67% free throw shooter for the Philadelphia native. And he makes good, 3-point play.
And again, boxing out has been an issue. That play would never have happened if Brookdale had boxed out better inside. I know that I've been saying that a lot, but that's just a storyline. You got to box guys out. You got to back them up. You cannot allow them to get rebounds like that.
Johnson just got mauled on his way to the basket. A lot of contact, no foul called. Keyshawn Cummings is back in as Paul Chizek looks for an offensive spark. His team has gone cold from the floor and has seen an 11-point lead nearly disintegrate. Here's Sutton with a drive to the basket, able to follow his shot. Shot misses, but a foul is called.
Now, you talked about a spark. Randy Sutton doing it all himself there, trying to get his own rebound, fought for that, put it back up, nice patience inside. So I've been continued to be impressed by Randy Sutton in this ball game.
He's a guy who's had multiple roles. He started a handful of the games, but he's also come off the bench. And you made the point that his skill set fits more coming off the bench, that some guys are more comfortable in that role. And I agree with you. I think Sutton's skills make for a good sixth man, a guy who can provide scoring coming off the bench.
And that's not a knock against Randy Sutton as a player. Just sometimes, for whatever reason, it's a mental thing. Some players are just better to come off the bench than to start. It's just, even if it's only 30 seconds, to come off the bench is a lot better than starting to find your own individual rhythm. For whatever reasons, just every player is different in that regard.
See if Philadelphia can tie with a three on this possession. Marshall thinking about it. Now he starts the drive, cut off there on a double team. And Bird knocks down a three. Akil Bird has tied the score. It's 55 all.
Yeah, that was just all Akil Bird. Nothing that Brookdale could do. That was a really long three. Even with a hand in his face, he was able to make the shot.
Colonial bench is making some noise. They're excited about their team's play of late. Johnson misfires, and it's rebounded by Bird. Bird now will slow it down. Now he accelerates. He crosses over. Jumper misses. Offensive rebound, though, was controlled for a moment by Saxon, and it'll stay with Philadelphia.
Now, Brookdale's been in the man-to-man defense so far. I'm surprised, though, we saw them go to a 2-3 zone midway through the first half and kind of stop Philadelphia on the offensive end. I'd be interested to see what Brookdale would do and how they would stop Philadelphia as they retake the lead with a nice drive. I'd be interested to see if Brookdale could go to a 2-3 zone and see if that would change the dynamic of how Philadelphia's been able to execute on offense.
Philadelphia now with its first lead of the second half. Johnson to change that. He does with a three ball. Lamar Johnson has been searching for the stroke and finally able to hit. 58-57.
Don't reach.
Marshall gives up his dribble. Dangerous pass. Bird on a pull-up. It bounces off. A foul is called underneath the basket, and it's on Brookdale. And that gets some more applause from the Philly bench. Team foul number 4 is called on Cummings, and that's his third.
That's a big personal for Cummings because now he's most likely going to have to come out of the game. He's in the game right now, but he's a big star on offense, so he can't afford to pick up another.
Bird able to track it down. Marshall watched by Sutton. Plenty of time to work with on the shot clock. Bird knows that.
Now look at Brookdale. Looks like has switched to a 2-3 zone defense. So see how Philadelphia can handle this offensive possession.
They find a cutting Logan for 2. Montrell Logan as the lead changes once more.
Well, so much for that suggestion. Philadelphia was able to work it perfectly, but I still do think if you go 2-3 zone, you might slow down Philadelphia a little bit on offense.
9 minutes to go now. Some noise in the Collins Arena. There's Johnson. Johnson takes it back. 3 on the way. In and out. And it's rebounded by Saxon. It's Marshall, as Philadelphia has been feeling it the last few possessions to take the lead back. Screen comes from Saxon. And nothing working on that possession, so acting head coach Andre Wright will take a timeout.
Just not a whole lot of ball movement on the offense for Brookdale, Brian. I mean, you see how well Philadelphia is able to move the ball around. When Brookdale comes down, and this has been really ever since the start of the second half. We didn't really see this too much in the first half, but ever since the start of the second half, I don't know if Philadelphia made some adjustments in the locker room, but Brookdale comes down the floor, and it's like they really don't have an offense. They're just kind of passing the ball around, but they're not doing it all that well. They're turning the ball over. They're making some bad passes that are getting intercepted or picked off or stolen. They don't really have a set offense. No one's coming out to help Lamar Johnson to get him open so that he can drive to the bucket. Same thing with Keyshawn Cummings. So players like that really need to have opportunities to go to the bucket to try to make a play. No one's really moving around. And I think this timeout, even though Philadelphia called it, I think is a good timeout for Brookdale because now it gives them an opportunity to try to reset. I just don't see a whole lot of offense on this side of the floor when Brookdale has the basketball, which is a stark contrast to what they had in the first half, where despite a pretty close game, they were moving the ball and they were still getting some good shots.
Brookdale wrapping up the pre-holiday portion of the schedule. They'll have one game left here on Tuesday against Sussex before a long break for the holidays and won't be back in action until after the new year.
And they have some really tough games coming up. We talked about the game against Sussex. That'll be on Tuesday. Then they go down the road in College at Gloucester County, a team they just played here in the Collins Arena. That was a very close game. On the road to Cumberland. They're home against Ocean on January 15th. That'll be our next game. But those two games alone, Brian, are going to be tough challenges. I know it'll be in the new year. Some of the players that are ineligible will be eligible again. So we'll see. Shot clock was winding down there for Philadelphia. I don't think they realized that, Brian.
They have 2 to shoot, so they'll have to hurry as it was knocked out of bounds. Inbounder is Saxon. There's a lot of yelling going on. Inside for Logan, and he scores. A tough angle for Montrell Logan, who had not been much of a factor coming into this game, but he's made a couple of nice shots as that's Cummings and a beautiful move going to the rim. Brookdale needed that. They're down by 1. And Marshall misses. Offensive rebound. Smith battling for it. It'll stay with the Colonials.
Yeah, there may have been some contact down low there by Smith as you take a look at this last bucket by Keyshawn Cummings, but I think Brookdale may have gotten away with a foul there. Smith had 2 different Jersey Blues on him, and there was some contact.
Saxon, again, the inbounder, once he can get a handle on it. Way out top for Bird. Now Bird into the lane, gives it back out. Saxon with a floater, that misses, and Calhoun rips away the rebound. Sutton catches on the perimeter, find Gatling. He goes glass, blocking foul called, and count the basket.
Yeah, and I think that's a good call. I know that Saxon is going to say that he was set, and it was, but that was clearly a flop there by Saxon. So that's a good call by the officials, and Gatling able to recognize that and go strong to the hoop.
Saxon picks up his 3rd. It's the 7th team foul against Philadelphia. Bird comes out, and back in is Quincy Reed.
I'm blocked. I'm up.
Gatling averaging a double-double for the season, 14 points, 10 boards. Now another change for Philly as they get Zavon Richardson back in, and Jordan Smith comes out.
Yeah, Philadelphia did pretty well without Savon Richardson on the floor. I'm actually surprised how well they were able to work inside without a big body like that on the offensive end for the Colonials.
63-61. What has been a back-and-forth game. It's been close from the outset. There's a couple of tries there, and the tip-in missed as well, and back the other way, Gatling. As Cummings has it ripped away. Here's Quincy Reed. Reed finds a man, and it's Saxon for 2. Game tied once again. Now Johnson. Sutton the crossover. Gatling into the paint. Back out baseline. He couldn't connect on the pass with Sutton. It's a turnover.
And we've seen that in the second half. Brookdale has put together a couple of good possessions. They've been able to get some points, and then they come down the floor, and it's just like nobody's on the same page. They have these turnovers that are just killing themselves and just giving the opportunity for Philadelphia to get back in the ball game first off, and now a tie game to retake the lead.
Saxon connects. Saxon's had an impact here in the second half. He's given his team a 65-63 advantage. Here's Johnson, has it swatted by Richardson, but a foul. And Philadelphia looks incredulous at that call.
Ooh. Well, there definitely was some contact there, not by Richardson. I think they're going to get this instead.
Reed, yeah. Quincy Reed picks up his third.
But a lucky foul for Brookdale because that was not looking like a very good offensive possession still.
Johnson hits the first one. And Jazir Clark is going to come in for Gatling.
And how many games this year, Brian, have we been in this Collins Arena and they have come down to close games for the men? I mean, this is a stark contrast from what it was last year, where at this point in the game, Brookdale would have a 15, 20-point lead with 6.5 minutes to go.
It's definitely a different kind of year, but still good enough for a winning record to this point. You figure they'll get stronger as the season progresses. High screen Richardson. Saxon fires again, and Devontae Saxon has another. He's had the hot hand of late for the Colonials. Boy, this game just a seesaw affair. No one can get any separation of any kind. Johnson crosses over, blocked, and another foul called. Richardson again in disbelief. Second straight possession that the Colonials thought they had a clean block, but the officials call a foul in addition, and this one is on Marshall. So Johnson right back at the line. Brookdale's leading scorer for the season, and he was inactive for that game against Rowan Gloucester that turned out to be a defeat.
And these are some critical shots from the foul line that Johnson is making, so it's keeping Brookdale in the game. The problem is when Johnson goes inside, he's got three bodies on him. There's nobody to pass it off to. So Brookdale, I still think, has got to make an adjustment so that if Johnson goes inside and the shot is not there, he can get rid of it and give it to somebody. We have not seen that so far in the second half.
Knotted up at 67, under 5.5 to go. Saxon hands it off. Reed steps into a jumper, short. Offensive rebound, Logan. Reset of the shot clock. Marshall's jumper, he's got it. Sutton. His shot, yes.
This is just back and forth. I have never seen a basketball game like this where this has just been back and forth this much. I don't think ever in the Collins Arena. I mean, this has just been incredible. Both teams just shooting the lights out.
Tied once again. Quincy Reed drives inside, knocked away by Sutton. Scramble for the ball along the baseline. And it's going to stay on this end of the floor.
Yeah, good effort there by Cummings going down to the floor. The problem was he was on the baseline when he had possession of the ball. Don't know if I necessarily agree with that call. Both guys are right there. There was some contact, but that's what the officials say.
And now the officials are going to get together.
Brookdale's just got to have a good, clean defensive stop. They have not had that the last several times down the floor for Philadelphia when they've had the ball.
Ishmael Marshall with a spin. His pass for Richardson comes back for Saxon, and the shot clock expires. So a 30-second violation on the Colonials. As time was winding down, they were unable to get a shot off. Brookdale ball as they look to regain the lead again. I wish we had the number of lead changes in this game because the number has been plentiful, and Sutton will change it once again as he gets to the rim.
I tell you what, Randy Sutton, that has just been the entire highlight reel for Brookdale this afternoon. Incredible. May have been a walk there, actually, on Reed.
Logan with a floater that misses. It's rebounded by Johnson. 2-on-1 potentially. Sutton has it swatted away. Transition defense by Saxon as Sutton hits the ground hard, and Teray Gatling comes back into the game now. Johnson will get what in all probability is a short rest.
A lot of contact, too, on the floor, Brian. A lot of fouls. I know we've had 9 fouls on Philadelphia, 4 on Brookdale, 13 combined. Not a whole lot of fouls, though, being called down this last couple of minutes.
Pass was through the hands of Calhoun, but right there, Sutton. Sutton sets up the offense, watched closely by Reed. Now Cummings goes to work. He's been quiet. He gets to the rim. Shot misses. Rebound loose. On the floor, Cummings trying to get to it. And it'll go to Philadelphia.
Good effort again by Cummings going down to the floor. I think he hesitated a little bit when he drove inside. That's, I think, what threw him off when he had that layup in the paint. But still, this has just been a wild game, Brian.
Wild indeed. I'm not sure we've done a game with this many lead changes. As you say, most of the games we've done in years past, at this point, Brookdale's up by 30 points. This one, though, a nail-biter. Final 3 minutes to go. Shot clock's down to 5. Reed has to make it happen. Reed to the basket with a wild shot. Must have been blocked. There'll be 2 seconds to shoot as the Colonials will inbound.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Philadelphia was doing there. I don't know if they just were confused, but they let a lot of clock just expire there without taking a shot.
And Saxon is fouled, and he sold that one well, because I'm not sure he was going to get off a shot. Paul Chizek very frustrated.
Well, that's
Saxon to the line.
It's frustrating because you have 2 seconds on the shot clock. And now you give the opportunity for the team that is down. They're trailing by 2 points with under 3 minutes left to go in the game. An opportunity to get free baskets, free points at the line with the clock stopped. So it adds insult to injury, and that's why Coach Chizek is so upset.
Jazir Clark just picked up his 3rd foul. Saxon made the first. This to tie it up. And we're not tied again as Gatling gets the rebound. 71-70, Brookdale leads with possession. Sutton the attack, bank shot no, and it's rebounded by McLean.
Don't foul, don't foul.
Marshall was bumped a couple of times without a foul called. And that's knocked out of bounds, and possession will change hands. Brookdale ball.
I'd like to see Brookdale in this possession just try to work for a good shot. Take that shot clock down to 4 or 5 seconds while you're working to get that good shot, and then get it off and see what you got. You don't want to give Philadelphia too much time, especially if you have a quick shot on offense. It looks like they're going to call timeout to discuss things, but that's what I'd like to see Brookdale do when they have the ball here.
2:31 remaining, second half. This one tight throughout. 71-70 is the Brookdale lead. We'll be right back.
Delicious.
Do you feel de-stressed?
Of course I do.
Back inside the Collins Arena, Brian Goudsward, Tim Catalfamo, the rest of our Brookdale TV crew here on a Saturday afternoon. And this game has been something to watch. I mean, with the number of lead changes, teams going back and forth. At one point, Brookdale built an 11-point lead. That's as big as it would get, because then Philadelphia mounted a run, and ever since, these teams, it seems like just trading baskets.
And remember, Brookdale led by 7 at halftime, so they just have allowed Cumberland to get back into the game. We've kind of documented it throughout the second half, but on this possession, this is going to be critical. If they can work for a good shot, and I'm talking about moving the ball around with the efficiency that Philadelphia has shown in this game, I think they'll be fine, but that's been a struggle in this ball game.
There's Sutton. Lamar Johnson drops it off Calhoun. Turnaround shot goes.
Not exactly what I think they drew up in the timeout, but still a very nice shot by Calhoun.
2 minutes to go now. 73-70. Philly needs a 3 to tie on this possession. Reed just holding.
No fouls here if you're Brookdale.
Jordan Smith on the outside, hands it off. Saxon steps into a jumper and connects. Now that's been the sweet spot for Devontae Saxon here in the second half.
And how good has he been in the second half, Brian? I mean, that's just been his shot right around that left elbow.
Now Johnson to the basket, shot blocked. Saxon got a piece of it. Brookdale will retain possession. There's another look at Calhoun. Cummings getting set to inbound. Brookdale's 5 on the floor is Cummings, Sutton, Gatling, Calhoun, and Lamar Johnson, who's open in the corner waiting for it. Instead it goes out for Sutton.
Got to drive to the hoop here.
Cummings on the drive, jump step, and he gets it to go as he uses the window. 75-72, come up on 1 minute to go. Marshall short on a 3. It's rebounded by Cummings. Leads Sutton. Sutton to the basket, lays it in. And now it's a 5-point game.
Philadelphia's got to work quickly here, but you cannot foul if you're Brookdale.
Jumper on the way by McLean, in and out. And it'll stay with the Colonials. Gatling pleading otherwise. 47.2 remaining, and what is now a 5-point game. And head coach Andre Wright now wants to talk things over with his Philadelphia team.
Yeah, it's a good timeout. Philadelphia down by 5. They can draw something up here. But again, if I'm Philadelphia, my mentality is I got to go to the hoop and I got to try to extend this game, try to draw some contact and get to the foul line. If I'm Coach Chisak on the other end, I'm telling my team, listen, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to try to draw contact. You cannot reach in and try to draw yourself a foul. Do not do that. Even if you have to give up a good shot, that's okay. You have a 5-point lead. I'd rather you do that than send them to the line with the clock stopped. So that's what they're going to have to do. If you're Brookdale, if you're Philadelphia, though, you know that you're going to try to draw as much contact as you can. That's what I think replacement coach, I should say, substitute coach Andre Wright is talking about in that timeout.
And if you're Brookdale defensively, you've seen Saxon beat you a number of times here in the second half. Marshall was a factor a lot early on, but they've done a good job containing him here in the second half.
Yeah, Marshall really hasn't been that much of a factor, but you talked about Saxon. He's been really good. And even so, like I said, if you give up a shot, that's okay. You have a 5-point advantage. The big thing is you don't want to give up an easy shot, but you don't want to foul. So that's the fine line that Brookdale has to kind of walk here on a tightrope to not allow Philadelphia to get any points on the board with the clock stopped.
Trying to come away with a key win this afternoon as they look to separate themselves from the Colonials. And as we mentioned in the last telecast during the women's game, Brookdale went 34-0 a season ago, but when they met Philadelphia, it was only a 7-point win, one of their closest games they played all season. So it always seems that Philadelphia is up for the challenge playing this Brookdale team. We're set to go outside the timeout. Inbounder Saxon with a full 30 seconds to work with.
Ooh.
Couldn't get it in cleanly, but Marshall's able to get to it.
No foul here. Again, hands off. Just keep your hands straight up.
And Saxon drives and kicks, and it's batted out of bounds. That has Paul Chizek giving a round of applause.
And this is going to be a tough angle to inbound the ball from for Philadelphia.
It's Marshall, and it's out off Cummings. That was close. Substitution, Lamar Johnson comes in. Sutton will check out. Now, Philly has had trouble inbounding the basketball. It becomes important to do so in this situation when they're down by 5 points. This time get it in for Reed. Quincy Reed lost it, and it's scooped up by Cummings. Cummings to the basket.
I think they're going to call that actually on the floor, which I'm surprised because I think that was in the act of shooting. Now they are going to change that call, and they're going to go back and say that he's going to be on the line. But I'm surprised. Originally, they were going to, put that on the floor. And now Cummings is at the line for 2 shots. Nice aggressiveness, though, by Keyshawn Cummings to try to get that down the floor, try to adjust in midair. There was some contact early on, but I think the officials made the right call and giving him to the line. They were originally going to put that on the floor, which meant that Brookdale would have had to inbound the basketball, but nice job by Cummings knocking them both down from the line. Yeah, right there, Brian.
Sorry about that. I never know when a coughing attack is going to come over you. We'll get another timeout.
Let's take a commercial break. Let's take a timeout.
We'll take a break. 26.3 remaining. We'll be back. Final 26.3 to go as Brookdale has a 7-point lead, 79-72. Trying to close out what would be their 3rd straight victory. And a game that has featured numerous lead changes. It's really been a nail-biter throughout, but Brookdale opening it up of late. And we'll see if the Colonials have one last rally here in the final 20 seconds. They'll need to make it happen quickly. Marshall misses, but the follow is good by Jordan Smith.
Someone's got to help to inbound the ball.
Now they able to inbound it, but they trap Cummings. And a jump ball is called, and that's going to give the ball to Philadelphia.
Yeah, you just got to be more aware. That's not Keyshawn's fault, but you got to be aware where that possession arrow is pointing if you're going to hold the ball and allow Philadelphia to try to get a tie-up.
So just when you thought this one was in the books, a mistake there, and credit Philly for trapping in the back court, not allowing Brookdale to get anything going, and now potentially outside the timeout as they devise a plan to try to make a three, this game far from over.
Yeah, and again, it's not Keyshawn Cummings' fault that he didn't know the possession arrow was pointing the right way. That's more of like a procedural thing that the coaches got to keep in mind and tell their players when they come out of the timeout. But smart defense by Philadelphia to know that and try to force the tie-up. But yeah, I mean, this is certainly not over. Philadelphia comes out of this timeout and hits a three, Brian. It's a 2-point game with a lot of time still left to go. So I'd be surprised if Philadelphia doesn't try to go for a three here. We know how good they are from behind the three-point line with players like Marshall and Saxon. So Brookdale's got to know that. And again, the big thing here, I talked about it a moment ago, you cannot foul. Regardless of what type of a look it is, you just got to go straight up. You cannot reach. You cannot try to cause a foul. The worst thing would be try to foul in a guy who's going to shoot a three. That's the worst possible scenario that you could have on defense.
Marshall will inbound it. Final 9.4 to go. Bounce it in for McLean.
They got to shoot
steps
here.
back, time winding down. That's Lloyd, and he is fouled inexplicably by Teray Gatling. And Paul Chizek just cannot believe it. He's just walking away.
And I mean, the coaches are screaming out, what did we just say in the timeout? That's what I just said. You cannot foul a guy when he's shooting a three, even if you give that up. You cannot do that. That was just a terrible play by Teray Gatling. I'm sorry.
Gatling does not pick a good time for his first foul all game. 3 free throws now for Kyrie Lloyd. No good on the first one. A guy who has not really factored in much this season or this game. But he's the one who takes a key shot. Second attempt. Gets the roll with one more coming.
Now, this is a live ball. So Brookdale has got to make sure that they close out and they box out here. Could be an opportunity for Philadelphia.
Third attempt, short. Rebound, Clark. Can they foul? They're able to escape with Johnson, and the clock runs out. So Brookdale is able to prevail after a hard-fought game here this afternoon. Two teams that on paper seemed evenly matched when they came in with identical records, and that's exactly how the game ended up playing out. As wire to wire, it was close. Lead changed numerous times, but in the end, Brookdale closes out the final score. Brookdale 79 and Philadelphia 75. And when you look at this game, I mean, there were a number of things that Brookdale did well, but while it was close, seemingly tied, or a 2-point game for a lot in the second half, they finally found a point there where they got some separation and really never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, it was really close for the majority of this game. I mean, you look at from when, even in the first half, I know Brookdale had a 7-point lead at halftime, but Philadelphia was able to really kind of get rid of that to start the second half. They really kind of traded blows back and forth. I just think in the end that Philadelphia, when they go back and they look at this game, they're going to look at the multiple, and you even talked about it, the multiple close opportunities that they had inside the paint, those shots that just for whatever reason just did not go in. They rolled out, a couple of missed opportunities down the stretch. Give credit to their defense. They really played very well. It's tough to play such a strong defense when you remain in the man-to-man defense for the entirety of the 40 minutes of basketball. That's really tough to do. It really works your defense really hard. It's exhausting, but they played really well. For Brookdale, they made some nice adjustments, but I still think that they're going to have to do a better job on offense, freeing up players like Lamar Johnson and Keyshawn Cummings to get to the basket. There really weren't a whole lot of picks being set. There were some times in the game where they would come down the floor and they would look confused on offense. They weren't really passing the ball very crisply around the perimeter. Those are things that you have to work on, and that's going to come with a young team, but that's certainly something they're going to have to clean up on. Randy Sutton, though, I think is the player of the game for Brookdale. Really played really well. Came off the bench, had an enormous amount of points on the board. Really played very well for the Jersey Blues, especially down the stretch with some critical baskets.
Yeah, he came off the bench, as you mentioned, wound up scoring in double figures, went a long way in giving Brookdale the win today. A building block victory for the Jersey Blues. They've now won 3 games in a row, and it's a Jersey Blues sweep of the doubleheader this afternoon as the men take this one. The final score, once again, 79-75. Thanks for watching here on Brookdale TV. For Tim Catalfamo, the rest of our crew, I'm Brian Goudsword. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you here on Tuesday when Brookdale takes on Sussex.
theater department and student success. Student success, as far as I'm concerned, is based on a student's involvement and willingness to have fun and enjoy what they're doing at college and what they plan to do with the rest of their lives. All of the classes that I teach are acting/interactive based, so I think that the idea that we are interactive gets a student comfortable with themselves, gets a student comfortable with the other students in the classroom, gets them comfortable with the school, and in turn, hopefully brings them in, gets them to stay around, gets them to be involved in a bunch of other things that go on outside of the classroom. We have shows, we have the Haunted Theater, we do a musical every year, we do Summer Shakespeare every year. So